at the top headlines of this hour. EU leaders show strong support for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at Brussels summit, discussing use of frozen Russian assets for $163 billion reparation loan to Ukraine. The EU also plans a new sanctions package against Russia, including a ban on Russian LNG from 2027, while Kyiv seeks autonomy over how the loan funds are spent. Syrian authorities have arrested a former military officer accused of executing detainees at the notorious Saydnaya Prison during the rule of ousted leader Bashar al-Assad. The prison belongs symbolic of Assad's brutal repression, which has been linked to thousands of torture and execution cases. Israeli lawmakers have the advancement of West Bank annexation bills as global pressure mounts for Israel to comply with the ICJ ruling on Palestinian rights. UN Chief Antonio Guterres has urged Israel to abide by the court's decision, while UN rights expert Francesca Albanese has condemned the US-brokered Gaza ceasefire plan as inadequate to stop what she called a genocide. WHO has led the medical evacuation of 41 critical patients and 145 companions out of Gaza, according to WHO Director General. He further added that around 15,000 patients remain awaiting evacuation and called on countries to open all routes and show solidarity to expedite medical assistance for Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hints at opposition to any Turkish security forces being deployed in Gaza during a meeting with UN on the second day of Vance's visit. Israel has also buried more than 50 bodies handed over, while Vance has expressed optimism that the ceasefire will hold, and US Senator Marco Rubio is expected to visit Israel soon. US President Donald Trump has said he expects to reach a trade deal with Chinese President Xi Jinping during their meeting next week in South Korea. Trump has also plans to discuss China's purchase of Russian oil and possibly restart US soybean export. He also mentioned that a deal on nuclear arms could be on the table. China has overtaken the United States as Germany's top trading partner, even as German exports to China fell 13.5% and imports rose 8.3%. While U.S. tariffs cut German exports by 7.4%, Berlin now faces growing concerns over shifting global trade dynamics amid escalating economic and security tensions between Beijing, Washington, and Europe. China has announced it will celebrate the 80th anniversary of Taiwan's retrocession to Chinese rule this Saturday at Beijing's Great Hall of the People, marking the island's 1945 return from Japanese colonial rule, according to them. However, Taiwan has banned officials from attending, accusing Beijing of distorting history for political purposes. Now we start with Ukraine and Russia. Russia has reported that the death toll